The train, for its type, is the most powerful vehicle on land. And the engines of Sodor are the power behind the docks, industries and branch lines that make up the world-renowned Northwestern Railway. These are the stories of Sodor. If I had to pick one word to describe the 1960s, it would be active. More so than ever before, people were getting involved in a variety of causes. On Sodor, the largest of these movements was the environment. For the most part, these newfound conservationists planted trees and picked up rubbish. However, some would stage protests outside the island's mines, factories and quarries, demanding they either close down or adopt more eco-friendly practices. To be fair, these demonstrations were mostly peaceful, but sometimes the more zealous protesters would vandalize the businesses they picketed. And since we serviced many of these places, I'm sorry to say we also became targets.
Where did they get the pig's blood? I don't know where they got it from, but I could see where they thought it was going. I wasn't about to let myself get doused, so I blasted them with steam.
Soil, not oil! Shut your gob, you! What's wrong, Constable? Afraid of a little democracy in action?
Bust my buffers. What are you doing here, Norman?
The same as usual, striking a blow for the cause.
I'll strike you if you're not careful.
Is that what you tell your wife?
That's enough, all of you.
Mr. Grant, I strongly advise you to keep your mouth shut. And Constable Rollins, control your temper. Take this lot away from processing.
Yes, Inspector. Come on, you horrible lot. Will you shut up? Bloody tree huggers come swanning in demanding we make changes and then throw a tantrum when we don't. They're worse than children. They're also complete hypocrites. What do they think is fueling those buses they rolled up in? Sunshine and magic beans? I'll say, to think I fought for their right to be stupid.
If it helps, Toad, I appreciate your service.
It does help, thanks. It would be even more helpful if you told that lot to shove off.
Sorry, Toad, but they have a right to protest. The only way we can intervene is if their actions are disruptive or harmful.
They're giving me a headache. Does that count? Sorry. Well, I've had to listen to their drivel all morning and I can't take it anymore. Please tell me you need a brake van for your train to Waterton. Yes, I do. Come on.
Morning, Wendell.
Hello, Norman. You're out already?
Some of us have friends in high places.
Maybe if you stayed on the straight and narrow, you wouldn't need such friends. How many times have you been pinched? 5? 6?
Yesterday makes 7. Lucky 7.
If you were really lucky, you wouldn't have gotten arrested at all.
In my line of work, that's a badge of honor.
I don't think there's such a thing as a professional troublemaker. Why don't you try doing something meaningful with your life?
I'm doing the most meaningful thing a man can do with his life. I'm fighting for Mother Nature.
And throwing pig's blood is going to help that fight?
Of course. Sometimes you have to get a little extreme to attract people's attention.
But at what cost? You lot aren't exactly popular. If you really want to make a difference, isn't it best to get the public on your side?
And we have been. Our numbers are going up all the time, usually after we've struck a blow.
But are you attracting true believers or hoodlums?
Either suits me if it gets the job done.
Why are you still friends with him? I have no idea. It's such a shame. He used to be so different.
How long have you known him?
Since we arrived on this branch. Back then he would organize petitions and the like, but over time he became more fanatical. So it was very satisfying getting to weesh him and his cronies.
Hopefully that'll knock some sense into him.
It hasn't, and neither of his multiple arrests. I almost think he enjoys being inside, which I can't understand. Once was too much for me. He's a lost cause, Wendell. Even his own parents disowned him. Do yourself a favor and give him the boot. Maybe I should. If he's willing to use pig's blood as a weapon, I shudder to think what else he's capable of. Oi, you! Stop! Get back here! Oh! What's going on?
One of the security guards is dead.
What? Who?
Kyle Baxter. Oh my god, that's horrible. He was getting married next month. What happened? There's some unfinished graffiti on the wall over there. We think Mr. Baxter caught the perpetrator in the act and gave chase.
And those bloody tree huggers killed him?
Or it could have been an accident. We don't have all the details yet. Either way, it would be wrong to assume the protesters were responsible. But assume is exactly what everyone did. Public sentiment towards the protesters had always been tense. When word got out they may have killed an innocent man, it became outright hostile. Fights began breaking out, leading to a crackdown by the police. Dozens of people were arrested, mostly demonstrators. In hindsight, the authorities were clearly using Mr. Baxter's death as a pretense to disrupt the protesters. It never crossed our minds that maybe they were taking advantage of the situation, but that didn't stop Wendell from challenging their more questionable actions.
What are you running them in for?
Disorderly conduct. We heard they were throwing things at you engines.
Someone's been telling you porkies, Constable Rollins. They weren't doing anything.
Then they have nothing to worry about.
Which is more than can be said for you. I saw you hit one of them in the gut.
You need your eyes checked.
Rubbish. You saw it, didn't you, Will? No, I didn't.
So it's my word versus yours, and nobody cares what a felon has to say.
That was 30 years ago. I haven't committed a single crime since.
Or you just haven't been caught. Once a crook, always a crook.
Then you won't mind if I file a complaint.
Go for your life. I could use a good laugh.
Rotten swine. And so are you. I know you don't like the protesters, but I can't believe you'd want them to get hurt. I don't, but I'm not going to say I saw a copper beat one of them when I didn't. Well, I know he did, and I'm going to report it to Joey. Are you sure that's a good idea? Why wouldn't it be? I think if you badmouth a policeman, he'll be less likely to help you when you need it. I'll take that risk. Joey, this is Wendell. Come in, over.
What did he say?
That he'll come by later to take my statement. But now I'm starting to wonder what's the point. Rollins didn't seem overly concerned, and how credible am I as an ex-con?
Don't worry about that, Wendell. What you did wasn't exactly the crime of the century, and it's not like you wanted to do it. Just tell Joey what you saw.
I'm surprised to hear you say that, Toad. I have expected you to tell me to keep my mouth shut.
And if the coppers hadn't been so heavy-handed lately, I might have. But I didn't fight against a police state just so Britain could become one. And it's a good thing Joey is coming. I need to have a word with him.
About what?
Thank you, Wendell. If these accusations are true, then Constable Rollins has committed a very serious offence.
Is he looking at prison time?
Depends on how severe the injuries are to the victim. In all likelihood, he'll be suspended, and that's assuming we can prove anything.
Aren't you going to talk to the protester?
Of course, but people don't tend to say nice things about the officers that arrest them.
It all comes down to credibility.
Exactly. Nonetheless, I'll look into the matter thoroughly.
I know you will. And there's something else. Toad has some information you need to hear.
About Rollins? And the Baxter case. I was at Waterton the night it happened.
What? You're a witness?
Sort of. I was asleep in a siding when I was woken up by a loud bang. I didn't see what it was, but I did see Norman Grant running across the compound. How do you know it was him? Last year he got caught writing graffiti on my side. I made sure to remember his face. If you're so certain it was him, why didn't you say anything? I did. I told Constable Rollins the morning after it happened. He said he'd look into it and told me to keep quiet. If this is true, he better have a good explanation. He's wrong. I never spoke to him. It must have been someone else. Toad was certain it was you. He said it was the same officer that pinched Mr. Grant for tagging him. And according to his arrest record, that was you. I don't remember, but if that's what it says. Do you also not remember he was one of the protesters we collared at Tidmouth the other day? Yes, I do. I also remember processing him like you ordered. That's interesting because I checked, and only his accomplices have gone through the system. Mr. Grant seems to have fallen through the cracks. I don't know what to say. I filed all the paperwork. If something got lost in the shuffle, that's not my fault. Then you won't mind resubmitting the necessary forms, will you? That might take a while. I'm working double shifts. These protesters have been keeping us busy. And while we're on the topic, a complaint has been made against you. So Wendell went through with it. I shouldn't be surprised. Their kind always cover for each other. Their kind? Crooks. So you denied the allegation? Yes, I didn't hit that bloody tree hugger, and he'll tell you the same. I'm sure he will. Thank you, Constable. You can return to your duties.
You believe him?
No, but my gut doesn't count as evidence. There's something else. You said Mr. Grant claims he's been arrested multiple times? Well, the only one on his record is from when he tagged Toad.
Really? Maybe he was just boasting.
Or maybe... What?
He did say he has friends in high places. Perhaps there's something going on between him and Rollins. He could be bribing him.
Whatever the truth is, we need to find it as soon as possible.
We?
I'm not just confiding in you because you're a good listener, Wendell. I need your help. Mr. Grant considers you a friend, doesn't he?
I think so. Why?
Hello, Wendell.
Norman, there you are. I haven't seen you for days.
I've been keeping my head down since that security guard snuffed it.
I'm not surprised. They've been rounding up protesters left, right, and center. I thought maybe you got pinched. Even if you did, I'm sure Constable Rollins would have helped you out.
What do you mean?
There's a rumor going around you've been paying Rollins to keep you out of jail.
Pah! He wishes.
Are you saying it's not true?
Of course it isn't. I wouldn't waste my money on a copper, especially when I don't have to. I've got that pig by the short and curlies. That sounds more like blackmail than bribery.
Because it is. Grant has evidence that Rollins has been abusing his wife.
What sort of evidence?
A photograph. He wanted to dig up dirt on Rollins after he was arrested, so he took a camera around to the constable's house and, in his words, struck gold the first time.
Obviously, he never thought to tell the police.
No, he figured having a copper in his back pocket would be very useful. It took every ounce of self-control I had to not blast him with steam.
I'll bet. Did he say anything about the Baxter case?
He admits he was there and he got caught, so he legged it, but he swears he didn't touch Kyle. He reckons he must have tripped and hit his head.
Do you believe him?
No, but like you said, gut doesn't count as evidence.
Let's just hope there's enough to put him and Rollins away for a very long time. Thankfully, there was. Norman Grant was charged with the murder of Kyle Baxter. The statements provided by Wendell and Toad were enough for him to plead guilty. The police also found the photo he had been holding over Rollins. The constable was swiftly arrested and had the book thrown at him. In an ironic twist, his malfeasance united the protesters and the public. They began demanding the local authorities be investigated for any other signs of corruption. So an inquiry was launched, and I'm sorry to say, it didn't take long for them to discover there was more than one crooked copper on Sodor. But that is a story for another day.